Hi guys, I'd like to, before I even get started with my speech, to tell each and every one of you guys that it was such a wonderful and great pleasure to have met each and every one of you guys, and hopefully we'll see each other in the near future. So I'd like to start by saying this is my advocacy speech on immigration reform for my Com 210 class, and I chose this subject because it's something that I believe in, that I'm passionate about, and that I think that we just need to stop ignoring it. The fact that immigration is a huge issue in the United States is understandable, but what we're not addressing is the families that are being split up, the children who are left behind to suffer the split. The psychological factor of this is unmeasurable. I absolutely could not imagine not being with my children every day, waking up with them, being able to make breakfast, pick them up from school, take them to school, just some of the things that we take for granted. It's because of our children that I'm so grateful. It's because of my children that I'm so grateful to live in such a great country and nation, because I know that living here, I can give them the opportunity to be able to grow and excel and become productive members of our beautiful society. So I'd like to get started by stating that there are roughly 11 million unauthorized illegals living in the United States. To deport all of these immigrants, it would cost approximately $94 billion to arrest and deport alone. This does not include employment costs for those that have to take on the task of carrying out these deportations. Our president-elect states and says that he'd like to keep these families together, and he'd kind of like to weed these families out, but that they need to leave before this process can even be started. I'd like to say that this is not a solution. It's actually making the problem a bigger problem, and in the long run, it's going to cost a lot more money to do that. I'm not against the weeding out process. I believe that for our safety, we definitely need to keep rules and weed out the bad people, but there's not that many. We are not rapists. We are not criminals. These immigrants are simply trying to obtain a better life for themselves, for their family, and just give their children the opportunity that most of us had growing up to become something better, to better their lives and not have to suffer in the country that many of them fled because of reasons of starvation and poverty, violence. These are all factors that unfortunately have played a role in these immigrants' lives. Excuse me. So a 5-year deportation plan would cost about $285 billion in order, and this is pretty much including, from the process of arresting, detaining, housing, transporting, so on and so forth. If we really wanted to carry this plan out, in order to deport 11 million, it would take about 20 years, which could cost anywhere from $400 to $600 billion. So in 20 years, we are going to have to spend $400 to $600 billion to completely clear out our great nation of 11 illegal immigrants. out of these 11 illegal immigrants, we cannot deport their children who are U.S. citizens. So these children remain in our country without their parents. Very sad to even think about that. Between 2009 and 2013, approximately 500,000 were deported. Of this, the same number, 500,000 children, were left behind. These children ended up in foster care, distant relatives' homes, and in many cases, friends and families of those that were deported. Absolutely, one of the saddest things I had to read, because these children end up with depression, behavioral issues, and psychological issues. It's just unimaginable to think that I can be in another country and my children are left behind to suffer the aftermath of my deportation. It's heart-wrenching. I actually, throughout all of my research, read a story about a woman by the name of Miss Sanchez Paulsine. She was barred from the United States in 2006 and is currently waiting for what's called a pardon out of the United States. It is a period in which they are assigned. These periods can range anywhere from a year, 5 years to 10 years. And they have to wait this period outside of the country until they are pardoned, and they pay the pardon to come back into the United States. To leave my children for 10 years is just unimaginable. And I can't even imagine what she had to go through and what her children have had to go through within these past 10 years. It broke my heart to read one of her quotes, and that was that every time she looked at that border and looked at that fence, she was reminded as to how close her children are, yet how far they are. I couldn't imagine waking up every morning and not being able to see their beautiful faces or get them ready for school, drop them off for school and pick them up and see their beautiful smiles. So I can't even imagine what she's going through on a daily. No one is exempt from this, guys. She was married and is still married, to a retired U.S. Corp Marine veteran. She leaves her 3 children in the United States to be raised by this wonderful man who served our country and now was taken, and the right of love, and his family was completely torn apart after he served our great nation. If that doesn't touch you, I don't know what does. For somebody to lose the right of having their family together is just, it's unbearable and absolutely heart-wrenching. I believe we need to come up with a plan of action. By coming up with a plan of action, we can actually grow our country. We can enrich our country. And I think it would be so lucrative to be able to give these immigrants the chance to work legally within the United States by either obtaining some sort of work permit or temporary visas that could be renewed year by year. Because then if they are working legally within the United States, they can also pay taxes within the United States, which would be, like I said, a lucrative plan for the United States in the long run. In conclusion, I'd like to say that we need immigration reform because we need to keep in mind that we are all one race, and that is the human race, and we all deserve the right to a better life, and we all deserve the opportunity to give our children the best life possible. And when we think about these immigrants who have left behind their families, their land, and all that they knew to come into a nation that they know nothing about, but that they have in some way, shape, or form have seen or read that this is such a great nation that gives the opportunity to everybody and is fair to everyone, and everyone can live a beautiful and wonderful life. I think we need to consider it. I think it's important enough for us to say, you know what, yeah, they deserve the right to come in and provide the best life possible for these children that are born within our United States or that have grown up within our United States and have adapted to our school systems and our ways of life. So with this, I'd like to give you guys leave you guys with this message, and hopefully in some way touch your guys' heart, because I know as a mother it has greatly touched mine. Thanks, guys.